Good day, everyone. So, this is the Unit 2, the Unpacking the Self. So, in Lesson 9, it will discuss the physical self and the sexual self. In physical self, there are two factors, the biological factor and the environmental factor. And also, it will discuss the issues about physical health, hygiene, nutrition, standards of beauty, and other socio-cultural factors will also be discussed. So the first factor is the biological blueprint. Biological blueprint, it includes the genes, the DNA, the chromosomes, and the heredity. So we all know that DNA is the blueprint of life, and it embedded a genetic information or a genetic instruction for the structure that it will be making. So we can give an example in a construction site. So the engineers or the architect will be making a blueprint of a building, and that blueprint will be distributed to the workers in order for them to know what they will be making and for what structure will be making. So it's just like our DNA. Our DNA has a genetic instruction for them to know what work will be done or what structure will be made. So next is the heredity. So heredity is the transformation of traits from parents to offspring. It is the biological and chemical process contribute to our physical features or to our physical appearance and development. So have you noticed that some of your physical features or characteristics came from your father or came from your mother? So we will give an example. So like for example, you possess or you obtain a black hair color, and your mother has a black hair color and your father has a blonde hair color. So if you have a black hair color, it doesn't mean that you didn't have a blonde hair color in your genes. It's just like the role of a dominant and the recessive. So the dominant is the black hair and the recessive is the blonde hair, because it did not appear in your appearance as the color of your hair, and the black hair is more dominant than the blonde hair, so that the black hair appear in your physical feature, or the color of your hair is black. So just like in your eyes, your nose, and your skin color, if some if some features or characteristics you get from your mother, it doesn't mean that you did not possess or you did not get any features or characteristics from your father. So it can or you possess that kind of appearance or features or characteristics, but it is observable also only under the microscope, or it can be determined through the blood test, and that is what we call the genotype. So as what I said earlier, the genotype is determined through blood testing and specific information embedded within our genes. So this type of gene did not appear in our physical appearance, but it is embedded within our genes or within our DNA. So next is the phenotype. So it can be directly observed. So the phenotype is like the genes that appear in our appearance or in our features or in our characteristics. Just like for example, your hair color, your skin color, your some of your characteristics and traits. So that is what we call the phenotype, or it can be directly observed. So next is genes. So genes is the basic carrier of hereditary traits. It can be classified into dominant and recessive. So as what I said earlier, dominant is the strong genes, while the recessive is the weak genes. So that is the reason why, or if you have a black hair color, it means that your black hair color is dominant, while the color of your hair that did not appear is the recessive one. So like for example, your mother has a black hair color and your father has a blonde hair color, and your mother has a dominant black hair color and your father has a recessive blonde hair color. So it means that the black hair color will appear in your appearance or in your features as the hair, as the color of your hair. So but it doesn't mean that um, the blonde hair color did not possess in your genes or in your DNA. You have a blonde hair color but in your genes. So that is the reason why it is called the weak genes, because it did not appear in our physical appearance or in our physical feature. So every person has two copies of each genes inherited from each parent. So next is the chromosomes. So each individual carries 23 pairs of chromosomes. So 23 from your father and 23 from your mother. So the 22 pairs of chromosomes are called the autosomes or the trait chromosomes. So this is the reason why we are unique, because we have a different matches of traits or characteristics from both of our parents. So we are unique, or we have a unique characteristic or traits or features, because it is randomly matched to other characteristics or other traits to form or to be observed in a individual. So the last pair of chromosomes, or in the 23rd pair of chromosomes, it is called the gonosomes or the sex chromosomes or the X and Y chromosomes. So the X chromosomes is the male and the Y chromosomes is the female. So these chromosomes will identify the gender of the individual, if it is a male or a female. So next is the DNA or the deoxyribonucleic acid. So there is no two individuals have the same DNA. So just like for example in a crime situation or in a crime scene, if the investigators having hard time in finding the suspect, then they will choose the DNA, or they will collect the DNA that get from the crime scene. And if this DNA will be matched in your DNA, then you will be subjected as a suspect, because DNA has a crucial genetic information that that is the reason also that we have a different DNA and we are all unique because of this kind of DNA. So the reason that we have the different DNA, then we have also a different blueprint, and because we have a different blueprint, then we have a different structure or the physical structure. So these cellular components, the DNA, the chromosomes, the genes, the heredity, are the reason for the maturation and the physical growth of an individual. So we will discuss the maturation. So what is maturation? Maturation is a completion of genetic character within an organism, or the unfolding of individuals' inherent traits or potential. So this is the ability of an individual from birth. So for example, the first walk, the first run, the first talk, the first understanding. This kind of ability is the maturation or the growth of our structure or some cellular components. So if we if we obtain the maturation, then this is the stage where we can do whatever we want independently. So just like for example, we can walk as our own, we can run whatever it far, we can think, we can analyze, we can understand things. So in that thing, we can think that our structure or our journey is very complex. It is not like we are molded, but we are structured we are built by our DNA, and this DNA is the reason for our structure. So this DNA has the genetic information or the genetic instruction for the different cells in order to achieve the fully structured individual. So maturation is like, we understand things, we understand our environment, we understand who we are, we understand if what people will be, or if what people will think of us as a individual or as a structure that we have. So if they like our physical features, or if they like our physical appearance, if they like our traits, if they like our characteristics, then some of us will change just because um, other people did not accept who we are. So that is the reason that we have to accept if whatever we want or whatever we have to accept if what hair color we have to accept what is our skin color, because these small things that appear in our features is the work of our DNA. But we have our own freedom. We can do whatever we want because we are matured. We can think, we can analyze things, and also we can decide by our own self. And it depends on us if what journey or what path did we take as we continue our life. So this is my report. Thank you.
The physical self, environmental conditioning. While our genetic information determines the degree of our physical traits, it isn't the only element. As we grow older, we are subjected to a variety of external factors that affect our physical selves, such as those imposed by our social networks, societal expectations, and cultural norms. Our earliest social group is our family, an important part of our development, including our physical self. Apart from genetic considerations, our family is mostly responsible for how we care for our body. We get our nutrition and sustenance from what was cooked in the house at first. Next, the physical self, achieving physical well-being. There's nothing wrong with enhancing our physical self. What is problematic is when we focus too much on physical beauty and disregard everything else. How do we take care of ourselves and our body? Here are just some tips. First, healthy eating. We need to have the right combination of food to ensure our health and sustenance. Having the right diet will result in healthy skin, ideal weight, and better stamina. Second, embracing a healthy lifestyle. Avoid drinking, smoking, and other unhealthy habits would reduce the risk of illness and diseases and making your immune system stronger. Physical activities such as walking, running, going to the gym, and sports would also contribute to a healthier body. Third, having the right hygiene. Taking care of our body by maintaining a hygiene regimen can also help in making us feel good about ourselves. Fourth and last, confidence in ourselves is our best makeup. Being secure in ourselves, embracing a positive outlook towards various situations and problems, and loving and accepting who we are will surely result in an optimal physical well-being.
Great day and good morning everyone. I am Yuri Bayawan and our lesson for today is all about sexuality. So what is sexuality? Well, there's a lot of things involved in sexuality, like how we feel, how we act, how we move, and how we look outside our appearance, and our relationship with family and friends. Well, actually, sexuality starts before a baby is born. nasa sinapupunan pa lang tayo na experience na natin yung sexuality. Like because sexuality is start before a baby is born. In what ways? Yung example, yung nasa sinapupunan pa lang tayo ng ating ina. Yung mga tao na nasa paligid or outside, tinatanong nila kung ano yung gender natin, yung identity, yun, kung pinipredict nila kung lalaki ba tayo o babae. Ganun. And next is, why sexuality is important? Well, because sexuality is something that impacts everyone in their whole lives. In what way? The clothes we wear, sa mga damit na sinusuot natin, the way we communicate, the way we make chores sa mga gawaing bahay, and the way we move or act. But also remember that sexuality is not just the way we show or what we act. But remember also that sexuality is what they make you feel. So overall, sexuality is experienced in a lot of ways, from childhood to old age, by means of body, through rules in life, by means of beliefs, and through relationships. Okay, so there are two theories of sexuality. We have the nature and the nurture. When we say nature is a theory of sexuality, which is it can be determined through genes. When we say genes, it is an unchangeable blueprint in you from birth. Kung ano kapag panganak, yun na yun. For example, if you have a penis, you are a boy. If you have vagina, you are a girl. So, yun na yung sex mo o yung sexualidad mo. The second one is the nurture. When we say nurture is a theory which the environment makes you. So, ibig sabihin, kung ano yung nakapaligid sa'yo o yung nakaka-influensya sa'yo. For example, you are a boy, but you're dressing like a girl. So, it means, nagde-dress ka ng pang-girl kasi yung nasa paligid sa'yo o yung nakakahalubilo mo o yung nakaka-influensya sa'yo is puro mga girl. And now, let's proceed to sexual concept. So, first, we have the gender identity. Gender identity means a person's internal sense of whether they're male or female, both or neither. It means a person's internal deeply held sense of one's gender. Gender identity is not visible to others. Why? It is because gender identity is your personal sense of one's own gender. It is your gender preferences no matter what happened. Kung ano yung nafe-feel mo, kung ano yung nararamdaman mo, o kung ano yung naiisip mo na uri mo dito sa mundo. For example, ako, yung gender identity ko is I'm a straight male. Yung iba is bisexual, gay, lesbian. It depends on how you will accept yourself. So that is gender identity. So next, we have the gender expression. Gender expression, a person's gender is expressed outwardly through their names, pronouns, clothing, haircut, behavior, voice, or body characteristic. For example, si Vice Ganda, ang gender identity niya is feminine, pero ang sex niya ay male. Kasi ang external genitalia niya ay may penis man siya. So, ang gender identity niya is gay. How Vice Ganda express himself? Si Vice Ganda ay isang cross-dresser. Minsan, nagdadamit siya ng panlalaki, pero kadalasan pambabae. Even sa voice niya, binago-bago niya, kadalasan pambabae, minsan panlalaki. And that's how Vice Ganda express himself. That is gender expression, how you demonstrate yourself. So, next is gender orientation. Gender orientation is an enduring pattern of romantic sexual attraction to persons of opposite sex or gender. The same sex, gender, or both sexes, or more than one gender, or minsan wala ka pang nagugustuhan. It is very important to know on who you are really attracted o kung kanino ka talaga nagkakagusto. The best example of this again is si Vice Ganda. Ang gender identity ni Vice Ganda ay gay. Ang gender expression niya ay minsan cross-dresser siya. Ang gender orientation ni Vice Ganda ay homosexual. So what is homosexual? And now let's talk about the different kinds of sexual orientation. So, tatlo lang yung ibibigay ko kasi yung iba itatopic na ng mga kaklase ko. So, first, we have the heterosexual. People who are heterosexual are romantically and physically attracted to member of the opposite sex. So, it means male attracted to female or female attracted to male. The best example of this is our parents and our lolas and lolo. So, the second one is bisexual. People who are bisexual are romantically and physically attracted to member of both sexes. So, halimbawa ako, na-attract ako sa lalaki at na-attract din ako sa babae. Nagkakagusto ako neither sa lalaki or sa babae. And the third one is homosexuality. Homosexuality is romantically attraction, sexual attraction, or sexual behavior between member of the same sex or gender. Kapwa babae o kapwa din lalaki. Example ako, I'm a straight male, tapos yung nagugustuhan ko din is a straight male. That is homosexuality. So lastly, we have the biological sex. Our biological sex is what we are born with in terms of chromosomes, hormones, and sex characteristic. A newborn with XX chromosomes and usually has female and sex reproductive organs is usually biologically female. A newborn with XY chromosome and usually has male sex and reproductive organs is assigned biologically male.
There are 6 steps to happiness. First is desire to be happy. Kung gusto mo maging masaya, naisin mong maging masaya. Step 2, find what makes you happy. Hanapin mo kung saan ka masaya, focus on it. Step 3, pull the happiness trigger and be happy. Step 4, eliminate joy stealer and avoid being unhappy. So, pabayaan natin yung mga bagay na nakaka-distract or making us stress and just be happy. Step 5, bounce back from a tough situation with faith, hope, and enthusiasm. So, if you are encountering or suffering from a problems, just bounce back with faith. Always remember na may God tayo na tutulong sa atin. And lastly, choose to be happy always.
So the body, sexuality, and the self. Focus on the body. A vital aspect of one's identity is the sexual, encompassing biological, physical, and emotional and social domains. Those are the areas of a person's life wherein we tend to give so much importance. While it is initially rooted in the distinguishing physical attributes found in men, which is the penis, and women, which is the vagina, bodily transformations and development of secondary sexual characteristics during adolescence would eventually trigger physiological response, leading to beliefs and behavior associated with sex. So adolescence, this is the stage that sets the tone for the gender of one's sexuality, his or her thoughts and behavior in order to make responsible choices concerning one's sexual self. So this is the stage wherein most young adults tend to be confused about their identity, their sexual orientation. Therefore, in my own viewpoints, it is very important for a young adult to have a stronger foundation about sex education and also enough information in order for them to make responsible choices in the future. So, sexual self, the biology of sex. So, sex is at birth a biological feature that distinguishes males from females. So, the following are the secondary sexual characteristics, which includes for male, the outgrowth of facial and bodily hair. Next is the emerging of Adam's apple, deepening of the voice, and muscle development. They also possess a hormone which we call testosterone. And for female, the onset of menarche, which is the first menstruation, and noticeable changes in the hips, breast, and skin, because skin tend to be lighter for women who are already on the stage of adolescence. So women also possess a hormone which we call estrogen, and at this stage women and men are already capable of procreation. Men tend to produce sperm, and women are already capable of producing eggs. Next is the 4 phases of sexual response cycle. First is the excitement. Second is the plateau. Third is the orgasm, and fourth is the resolution. And completing the cycle would most likely lead to sexual satisfaction. In men, it is natural for them to experience erection during an arousing moment. For women, vaginal lubrication, which is wetness, is the likely response. If sexual arousal is satisfied through sexual intercourse, men would experience ejaculation while women would reach orgasm. So the refractory period is the period of rest after ejaculation. It is likely to be longer in men, while women can achieve multiple orgasms due to a shorter refractory period after intercourse. So during adolescence stage, it is common occurrence to watch and read pornographic materials, engage in kissing, petting, and perform masturbation, which is an act of stimulating one's genitals for sexual pleasure. These are the way of satisfying their urges. So medical professionals stated the health benefits of masturbation. This includes stress relief, better sleep, improved self-esteem, and enhanced body image. Further, masturbation is better alternative to sexual intercourse, which may lead or result to unwanted pregnancy and acquiring STI or sexually transmitted diseases, which are the matter where most of the young adults are not yet ready for.
Sexual orientation and gender identity. So G for short. The flow of my report is, first we will know the meaning of sexual identity, followed by the gender identity, and to tell last what is their difference. So let's start. So sexual identity is about how you see and express yourself sexually. We all know that all of us fall in love. There are people we want to go out with, or we want to have sexual relationships with. So today I'll be sharing 5 types of different sexual identity. First is we go to the heterosexual. The heterosexual is the people who are attracted to the same sex, the opposite sex, and the gay is the people who is attracted to the same sex, and then the bisexual is for those people who were attracted to either male or female, even though they are male or female themselves. They could be either the word bisexual, they have double type of sexual identity. They can either be male or female. And the pansexual, they are sexually sexually attracted to any kind of any kind of genders, or they attracted to either opposite sex or either gay or whatsoever. I think in the pansexual is people who have the sexual identity is attracted to the personality of the people or the person they are attracted with. And the sexual is for those people who aren't sexually attracted to any people at all. That's all. Gender identity is about how you experience your own gender. It might sound simple, but it's quite difficult than you might think. There are 5 different kinds of gender identity that I'll be showing to you on my presentation. First is the multiple genders. People who believe in supernatural stuff, like natives, they believe that they had multiple genders. I'm not quite known about these multiple genders or the natives because their belief is very difficult to understand for me because I'm not a native. But I believe this is the one their ancestors wanted to pass for their generations. This belief that they had multiple genders. So what is their difference? Sexual identity is about who we're emotionally, physically, and romantically attracted to. And the gender identity is about how we see ourselves in terms of gender.
Everyone, I am Sweet Hazel Dupitas. I'm going to report the consequences of sexual choice. So what is sexual intercourse? Sexual intercourse is a sexual contact between individuals involving penetration, especially the insertion of an erect penis into a woman's vagina, typically culminating in orgasm and the ejaculation of semen. So, sexual intercourse is the act of couples who want to have a baby and to make love. So, what are the consequences of sexual choice? These are the teenage pregnancy and having STD and HIV. What is teenage pregnancy? Teenage pregnancy is a pregnancy in a woman 19 years old of age or younger. A woman can get pregnant if she has a vaginal sex with a man in any age after she began having regular monthly period. So, pwede nang mabuntis yung babae kapag nagkaroon na siya ng buwan ng dalaw o regla. And kapag nabuntis ka 19 years old or below, we can call it as a teenage pregnancy. Most teenagers who have sex with their partners often rationalize the act of claiming they love each other and they are ready to be committed to each other. So, nowadays, most of the teenagers are engaged in premarital sex. Sinusuko lang nila yung kabataan nila just to prove their love to their partner. Which is mali yun. Pag mahal mo talaga yung partner mo, matuto ka mag-antay para sa time na yun. However, if a woman is fertile during the time of intercourse, pregnancy is likely to occur and will last approximately 9 months before the birth of child. So, kapag fertile yung babae at nakipag-sex siya sa partner niya, mas malaki yung chance na mabubuntis siya. At yung pagbubuntis ay magtatagal ng 9 months bago panganak yung bata. There are physical risks of having early pregnancy that may impact in the adolescent development, including the risk of miscarriage, emotional stress, and having risk of both mother and infant. So, kapag nabuntis ka ng mas bata, yung katawan mo is hindi pa matured, so pwedeng malaglag or hindi maganda yung pagkakapit ng bata, pwede siya malaglag and pwede kang ma-stress. Hindi lang naman yung babae yung maapektuhan sa pagbubuntis kasi pati na rin yung lalaki kasi kapag same silang student, need talaga nila mag-stop mag-aral para lang maalagaan yung baby. Yun. Aside from pregnancy, another consequences of sexual intercourse is the risk of having STD. Consequences of sexual intercourse is the risk of acquiring sexual transmitted disease. This sexual transmitted disease, while most of them can be treated and cured, may have long-term consequences to one's health. STD is passed by means of exchange of body fluids or genital contacts. So you can get an STD through saliva. Among the common diseases are syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia, and genital warts. Symptoms of this sexual transmitted disease includes the burning sensation during urination, warts and sores in the genital and mouth area, abnormal and smelly discharge, genital irritation, and painful bowel movements. The most alarming sexually transmitted disease is the human immunodeficiency virus or HIV. It is a virus that can be transmitted by anal, oral or vaginal sex with the infected person, as well as through breast milk during childbirth and by coming into a contact with the blood of HIV positive person. Untreated HIV can lead to AIDS, which comprises the immune system and put the person at risk of illness and death. It is in its early stage, HIV has no symptoms. So, AIDS is the most dangerous disease when you have unprotected sex. Once the illness has progressed, the first symptoms may include fever, rashes, and sores. In its final stage, a person with AIDS may suffer from variety illness including pneumonia and cancer. At the moment, there remain no cure for HIV and AIDS. So far, there has no cure for HIV and AIDS, but merong mga painkillers. How does one acquire a sexually transmitted disease? It is prevalent among individuals who engage in unprotected sex with multiple partners. So, STD can develop through unprotected sex with multiple partners. Irresponsible sexual behavior often result in dire consequences that have significant impact on people's life in the future. Aside from health risks associated with sexually transmitted disease, it may also ruin relationship, create a negative stigma against people with STD, and disrupt school and employment. Thus, it is important that an adolescent should make responsible decisions with regard to their sexuality and sexual behavior. Responsible sexual behavior entails the following: respect for one's body. This will mean taking care of one's body and avoid activities that undermine one's worth and respect. So we need to respect each other's body and health. Also, avoid some activities that are not good for us. Maturity in thoughts and deeds. This would refer to being objective, rational, and calm instead of being swept by one's emotion. Being guided by one's personal belief and core values. An adolescent should always be grounded by his personal principles and self-worth. Being future-oriented instead of focusing on the present, always weigh your actions now with possible consequences in the future. Sexual pleasure might be overwhelming at the moment, but always focus on what will entail in the future. To think carefully in making our decisions in life, whether it has a good effect in our future, but also do not be tempted by the pleasure, just wait for the right time. We're done with topic of consequences of sexual choice. Next is the obsessions to have a beautiful face and body. First is the tragedy of Michael Jackson, endless survey to alter face. So we know that Michael Jackson has changed his face for him to boost his confidence and to satisfy himself. Next is the demand for cosmetic surgery, skin whiteners, etc. Artists undergo surgery to make them more even beautiful. But also, some of us are using bleach soap for us to, because we want to be presentable and beautiful in people's eyes. Next is eating disorders such as anorexia nervosa and bulimia. Malnutrition among young women due to improper way of eating. Our bodies to be beautiful, but our way of eating is wrong. We must know the right amount of what we eat every day for us to be healthy. That's all. Thank you.
Golden ratio, the perfect face. It's rather impossible to achieve the golden ratio, but people still vie for it. Some are not satisfied with the way their parents look like and are attracted to more beauty people. For me, more importantly, the application of the golden ratio to beauty refers only the physical beauty of what defines true beauty in humans. There is saying beauty as only skin deep. Physical beauty is fleeting and passes with time. Other qualities of the mind and soul are the substantial of true beauty. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. It is, but is a big challenge to us educators or parents to indicate inside that outside plump, skinny, just right, sexy or chubby, as long as a fashion industry dictates what is beautiful. Be it for man or woman, youth can never be satisfied with their bodies. Every culture will have standards of beauty. Medieval age at some tribes, chubby, plump for Hollywood and local showbiz. Actors and actresses are skinny, six-packs, abs for men. There is saying beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. What one individual considers beautiful may not be beautiful to others. To me, beauty is not only something that pleases the eyes, but also pleases the other senses and the mind. I think true beauty makes you see beyond the lovely sight. It will give you insight or realization of something interesting beyond just the outward appearance. Body art and status symbol, practicing tattooing, scarification, piercing, and body painting. For me, body art is any kind of addition to one's appearance for status purposes. Body art is believed to be beautiful by the beings who wear it. When individuals decide to decorate their body, it becomes a part of their identity. Any unwanted alternation to an individual's would not be considered body art. Those could be considered body markings.
Good day everyone, my name is Elsa G. Biduya Jr. and I'll be reporting 5 of the 46 terms that describe sexual attraction, behavior, and orientation. But before that, let us know the relevance of it. So why does it matter? Sexuality has to do with the way you identify, how you experience sexual and romantic attraction, and your interests in and preferences around sexual and romantic relationships and behavior. Identifying your sexual and romantic partner doesn't become a part of yourself. Sexuality can be fluid, changing in different situations for some and over the years for others. Experts have found another way of understanding sexual identity by observing patterns in sexual and romantic attraction, behavior, and preferences over time. Familiarizing yourself with language that describes different types of sexual and romantic feeling and orientations will help not just you, but your partners and your friends to navigate and understand the many ways people experience and identify their sexuality. Now for the first term is allosexual. So what is allosexual? Allosexual is a word and category describing those who experience sexual attraction. Anyone who feels sexual attraction for other people is considered as allosexual. Because of this term, it helps normalize the experience of being asexual and to label specifically those who aren't part of sexual community. Alloxism, however, refers to norms, stereotypes, and practices in society that operate under the assumption that all human beings experience or should experience sexual attraction. Alloxism also grants privilege to those who experience and leads to prejudice against erasure of asexual people. So here are some of the pictures and the flag of allosexual. The second term is androsexual. Androsexual is a term to communicate or romantic attraction to men, males, or masculinity. This term intentionally includes attraction to those who identify as men, male, or masculine, regardless of biology, anatomy, or sex assigned at birth. Despite if the person is male, if he is sexually attracted towards a man, this is considered as androsexual. This is the example of a flag of the androsexual. The third term is asexual. A sexual identity or orientation includes individuals who don't experience sexual attraction to others of any gender. They are referred as aces. Some people who are asexual do experience romantic attraction to people of one or multiple gender. These are the people that lack of sexual attraction to others or having a low interest in sexual activity. This is the flag of the asexual. Next is aromantic. A romantic orientation that describes people who experience little or no romantic attraction at all, regardless of sex or gender. This term has nothing to do with sex. It means that a person don't get romantically attached to others. This is the flag of the aromantic. Next is autosexual. A person who's sexually attracted to themselves. Someone's desire to engage in sexual behavior such as masturbation doesn't determine whether they are autosexual. These are the people that are more attracted to themselves than others. Some may have sexual desire for themselves, enjoy self-stimulation, have sexual dreams about themselves to the inclusion of other relationships. And based on my research, this is the flag of the autosexual.
So we proceed to autoromantic. So what is autoromantic? Autoromantic, a romantic orientation that describes a person who's romantically attracted to themselves. So meaning, autoromantic. Autoromantic is a person that romantically attracted to themselves and not romantically attracted to everyone. And number 7 is bi-curious. What is the meaning of bi-curious? So, bi-curious, this refers to people who are questioning or exploring bisexuality, which typically includes curiosity about one's romantically or sexual attraction to people of the same or different genders. So meaning bi-curious is a person that is questioning his or herself that she can romantically attracted to a person that different genders or same gender. So number 8 is bisexual. What is bisexual? Bisexual, a sexual orientation that describes those who experience sexual, romantic, or emotional attractions to people of more than one gender, also referred to as bisexual. So meaning, bisexual is a person that attracted to male and female. That is the simple way how bisexual attracted to same gender and different genders. And number 9 is biromantic. Biromantic, those who experience romantic attraction but not sexually attraction to individuals of more than one gender. This means biromantic is a type of bisexual that romantically attracted to one person but not sexually attracted to a person. And number 10 is close-knit. What is the meaning of close-knit? Close-knit are meaning these are the metaphors for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and LGBTQA+ people that have not disclosed their sexual orientation or identity and aspects thereof, including sexual or identity and sexual behavior. And number 11 is coming out. meaning it refers to the process that people who are LGBTQ to though as they work to accept their sexual orientation or gender identity share that identity openly with other people. Hence, coming out is a very brave thing to do, and it is extremely personal and different for everyone. And this will be regards of what they are or who they are, because they are confident to show the identity or to show their gender in public, and that's how to encourage people who are starting to confuse to themselves. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Diana Rose H. Lopez. Today I am going to continue discussing the 46 terms. So the 12th term is copiosexual. Copiosexual describe asexual people who don't experience sexual attraction but still have the desire to engage in sexual behavior or a sexual relationship. Copiosexual is wanting a sexual relationship but not experiencing sexual attraction. Basically, this means that they enjoy the experience of having sex and they want to have a sexual relationship with their partner, but they are not actually sexually attracted to anyone. Next is demisexual. On the asexual spectrum, this sexual orientation describes individuals who experience sexual attraction only under specific circumstances, such as after building a romantic or emotional relationship with a person. Means a person must feel a romantic and emotional connection in order to experience a sexual attraction. People only feel sexually attracted to someone when they have an emotional bond with a person. They can be gay, straight, bisexual, or pansexual, and may have any gender identity. The prefix demi means half, which can refer to being halfway between sexual and asexual. Next is demiromantic. This romantic orientation describes individuals who experience romantic attraction only under specific circumstances, such as after building an emotional relationship with a person. A demiromantic person is someone who only develops romantic feelings for another person when they have strong emotional connection to them. These people can be any gender identity or sexual orientation. Next is fluid. These terms refer to the fact that sexuality, sexual attraction, and sexual behavior can change over time and be dependent on the situation. It's used to describe those who experience shift in their sexuality, sexual attraction, or sexual behavior in different situations or throughout the course of their lifetime. You may hear someone describe their sexuality as fluid. Sexual fluid people have an orientation that remains roughly stable over time. So you might use this term if you mostly feel attracted to one gender but want to acknowledge the way your attraction and responses sometimes shift. Next is gay, a term that describes individuals who experience sexual, romantic, or emotional attraction to people of the same or a similar gender. Some gay-identified women prefer the term lesbian, while others prefer queer or gay. It's also best to ask which word or term someone uses to describe themselves. The field of medicine and psychology previously referred to the sexual orientation as homosexual. Homosexual is now viewed as an outdated and offensive term and shouldn't be used to refer the LGBTQA+ individuals. The next term is gray sexual. Gray sexual is a term used to acknowledge the gray area of the sexuality spectrum for people who don't explicitly and exclusively identify as asexual or aromantic. Many people who identified as gray sexual do experience some sexual attraction or desire, but perhaps not at the same level or frequency as those who identify their sexuality as being completely outside of the asexual spectrum. Being gray sexual means a person may experience light sexual attraction to others on an infrequent basis.
18. Gray romantic. A romantic orientation that describes individuals whose romantic attraction exists in the gray area between romantic and aromantic. Many people who identify as gray romantic they experience some romantic attraction, but perhaps not at the same level or frequency as those who identify their sexuality or romantic orientation as something other than asexual. Gray sexual or gray romantic refers to someone who has a low level of romantic attraction. They may only experience romantic attraction on a very uncommon or low intensity basis. Genesexual, a term used to communicate sexual or romantic attraction to women, females, or femininity. This term intentionally includes attraction to those who identify as women, female or feminine, regardless of biology, anatomy, or the sex assigned at birth. Heterosexual, a term that describes people who experience sexual, romantic, or emotional attraction to people of the opposite gender. Male versus female, man versus woman, or a different gender. Both cisgender and transgender identified people can be heterosexual. This sexual orientation category is commonly described as straight. Homosexual, an outdated term rooted in the field of medicine and psychology that refers to individuals who experience sexual, romantic, or emotional attraction to people of the same or a similar gender. Homosexuality is when two persons of the same sex are attracted to one another. The term homos comes from the Greek word homos, which means the same. Lesbian, a woman or female-identified person who experiences sexual, romantic, or emotional attraction to people of the same or a similar gender. Some women who are lesbians may also refer to themselves as gay or queer, while others prefer the label lesbian. So lesbian is a woman who is attracted to other women both physically and romantically. Homosexuality is the form of lesbianism in a type of homosexuality. LGBTQIA+, the acronym that often describes individuals who don't identify as exclusively heterosexual or exclusively cisgender. The letters in the LGBTQIA+ acronym stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning, intersex, and asexual. The plus symbol in the LGBTQIA+ refers to the fact that there are many sexual orientations and gender identities that are part of the broader LGBTQIA community but aren't included as part of the acronym.
Libido is asexual, a term used to describe an asexual person who experiences sexual feelings that are satisfied through self-stimulation. This level acknowledges that for some people, acting on libido or sexual feelings doesn't necessarily involve sexual behavior with others. Monosexual, a broad sexual orientation category that includes people who experience romantic or sexual attraction to people of one sex or gender. Monosexuality typically includes those who are exclusively heterosexual, gay, or lesbian. So, it means that a sexual attraction to one gender only from the root word mono. Non-libido is asexual. It is referring to an identity on the asexuality spectrum. A non-libidoist asexual is someone who doesn't experience any sexual feelings or have an active sex drive. So, when we refer to a person, they are who don't experience sexual urges or desires. Omnisexual. Omnisexual is similar to pansexual and can be used to describe individuals whose sexuality isn't limited to people of a particular gender, sex, or sexual orientation. So, it is a person who attracted to all gender. Next is pansexual. It is a term that describes individuals who can experience sexual, romantic, or emotional attraction to any person, regardless of that person's gender, sex, or sexuality. Panromantic, a term that describes individuals who can experience romantic or emotional, but not sexual attraction to any person, regardless of that person's gender, sex, or sexuality. Next is polysexual, a term that describes individuals with a sexual orientation that involves sexual or romantic attraction to people with varying genders. Polysexual orientations include bisexuality, pansexuality, omnisexuality, and queer, among many others. So in general, polysexual means incorporate many kinds of sexuality.
Number 31. Homosexual. A term, not necessarily an identity, used to refer to those who reject sexuality labels or don't identify with any of them. Number 32. Passing. In the context of gender, passing or blending is when someone, typically a transgender person, is perceived as cisgender instead of the sex they were assigned at birth. The person may, for example, be a transgender man who is perceived as a cisgender man. Number 33. Queer. Queer is an umbrella term for sexual and gender minorities who are not heterosexual or are not cisgender, originally meaning strange or peculiar. Queer came to be used pejoratively against those with same-sex desires or relationships in the late 19th century. Number 34. Questioning. The questioning of one's sexual orientation, sexual identity, gender, or all three is a process of exploration by people who may be unsure or still exploring or concerned about applying a social label to themselves for various reasons. Number 35. Romantic attraction. It's an attraction that makes people desire romantic contact or interaction with another person or persons. Number 36. Romantic orientation, also known as affectional orientation, indicates the sex or gender with which a person is most likely to have a romantic relationship or fall in love. Number 37. Sapiosexual. Sapiosexuality means that a person is sexually attracted to highly intelligent people, so much so that they consider it to be the most important trait in a partner. It is a relatively new word that has become more popular in recent years. Both LGBTQ+ people and heterosexual people may identify as sapiosexual.
Sexual attraction. Sexual attraction refers to the experiencing sexual desire or arousal in relation to another person or group of people. It's when our body and mind is drawn to someone who would be a good mate for us. For example, a person's action, the way she or he talks to the way he or she smells, can play a huge factor. Sex averse. Sex averse describes those who are asexual and are averse to or extremely disinterested in sex or sexual behavior. They are extremely disinterested in sexual activities or behavior. Sex favorable. On the spectrum of asexuality, sex favorable is viewed as the opposite of sex repulsed and describe those who are asexual and in certain situations can have favorable or positive feelings towards sex. They are willing to have sex. Sex indifferent. Sex indifferent describes those who are asexual and feel indifferent or neutral about sex or sexual behavior. Sexual orientation or sexuality is an aspect of self that involves how you identify the way you experience sexual or romantic desires, if you do. The gender or genders or sexes of the people who someone engages in sexual or romantic activity with, if any. The gender, genders, or sex of the people someone is attracted to. Sexuality can change over the course of someone's life, and in different situations, it understood to be a spectrum instead of a series of mutually exclusive categories.
So sex repulsed, similar to sex averse, sex repulse is on the spectrum of asexuality and describes those who are asexual and are repulsed by or extremely disinterested in sex or sexual behavior. Next is scoliosexual, a sexual orientation that describes those who are sexually attracted to people with non-cisgender gender identities, such as people who are non-binary, genderqueer, or trans. Spectrosexual, a term that describes people who are sexually or romantically attracted to multiple or varied sexes, genders, and gender identities, but not necessarily all or any. Straight, which is a very common term nowadays, also known as heterosexual. Straight describes people who experience sexual, romantic, or emotional attraction to individuals of the opposite gender. Example given, male versus female, man versus woman, or a different gender.